Welcome to ATC CAD. I'm David Atkins. If there's one thing that tends to unite people all over, it's a general disdain for doing difficult mathematics and an outright hatred for legal language. Civil engineers and surveyors have been dealing with both of these issues for thousands of years. And while our number system has made the task a bit easier, would you rather write 2,187 or... It still sucks taking legal descriptions and turning it into actual CAD geometry. In today's episode, we're going to cover the way you're supposed to do this, why it sucks, and the hidden command you can use to make this process 100 times easier. So stick around. Also, if you think we should start using hieroglyphs instead of Roman numerals for movie copyright dates and Super Bowls, press the like button. Before we get started, apologies to Irving Finkel for using hieroglyphs instead of cuneiform. I just think the hieroglyphs are way funnier, base 10 is more accessible, and the number 100,000 is a tadpole, and that's just adorable. If you've taken a Civil 3D class that isn't mine, or read a Civil 3D manual, you've likely been taught to use the transparent toolbar options to lay out your site boundary. They are found here along the side of the screen, and also in the ribbon. It works, but it's weird. Let's take this description as an example. We're supposed to face south and turn 12 degrees, 17 minutes, and 43.2 seconds to the east. When using the transparent toolbar, we would define our start coordinate, choose bearing and distance from the toolbar, and then we have to select a quadrant. Well, southeast quadrant is quadrant 2, which we can click. Then we type in the angle, which is a whole number for the degrees, followed by a decimal point, and then minutes is a 2-digit number, and then the seconds. So 12.17432. If you've been doing this for years, this probably comes as a second nature to you, but look back on when you first learned this. It feels a bit like translating numbers into hieroglyphs. The order in what you type is weird, the number you type in is weirder, and God forbid you have 5 minutes and you forget the leading zero, so AutoCAD thinks you meant 50 minutes. Ugh. This is something you work through with practice, but one problem just can't be solved with practice, no matter how hard you try. That problem is stupid fingers. I have stupid fingers. You may also have stupid fingers. You can test this by trying out the following. Take a legal description for a site plan. Now type in every single number related to that site boundary without making a single mistake, or without pressing 2 keys at once by accident. Also while translating the angles from legal description language into the transparent toolbar format. Were you successful? If so, I'm really impressed. I'm never successful at typing 300 digits in a row without a mistake. Further, I almost never realize that I've made a mistake until I get to my point of closure and realize that my closure error is way larger than my least squares adjustment says it should be. When you make a mistake this way, you've got a big undertaking to figure out where you made a mistake. And I made a mistake in 2 of them. Finding out which 2 lines is really boring, and I hate doing it. This process is even worse when you have curves involved, and extra hard if you only have a legal description because your client has a deed, but not an address, and he can't look the darn thing up on GIS to see what it should look like. I have deep trauma, is what I'm saying. What if there was a better way? What would a better way even look like? For one, I wouldn't have to translate the angles into some stupid format that no one else uses. I could type in exactly what the legal description says. Second, I would be able to quickly review what I typed and make changes to any issues my stupid fingers created. Third, I'd be able to add new points in the middle, in the likely event I got so bored reading the legal description that my brain skipped 3 lines in an act of self-preservation. Finally, I'd be able to move the boundary to the correct coordinates since legal descriptions tend to omit the important detail of where the stupid lot actually is. Seriously, I know legal descriptions were created hundreds of years ago when they didn't have GPS and had to literally use chains, but still, I can't use one of this, I can't do that, over here. Looking through the ribbon shows you that there isn't a better way. Thanks for watching. The command we want isn't in the ribbon at all, but it is available if you type it. That command is CogoEditor. Before we start using the CogoEditor command, you should have assigned a coordinate system to your project. You would do so by right-clicking in the drawing name in the Settings tab of the Toolspace palette, choosing Edit Drawing Settings, and assigning the coordinate system of your choice. With that out of the way, start by typing in the command CogoEditor. This will open up the CogoEditor dialog. The first step is to input your point of beginning. Once you input your northing and easting, you can then copy these coordinates to the point of closure. To do that, slowly click twice in the field. This will highlight blue. Then you can press Ctrl-C to copy it. Then slowly click twice in the field below, and you can paste with Ctrl-V. I don't usually assign a point name or number. Now in the table below is where we can get our work done. Let's begin with a line. When we type in our direction, we can use the normal format that we're used to. To make it easier, just put a space between degrees and minutes and seconds. The only real gotcha that we have here is the fact that Civil 3D is expecting 2 decimal places in the seconds area. If your legal description only has 1 decimal, you must type an extra 0 or weird things will happen. Finally, we hit the Tab key to go to the next field. Once you hit Tab, Civil 3D will format the bearing in the style you would expect. Take a few moments to validate that you typed everything in, and that you included the extra decimal place. If you didn't, you'll get a value like this, instead of the value we actually wanted. Now we simply type in the distance. This part doesn't have any tricky elements, so just type what you want. We can easily add the next line in the legal description. But what about curves? Civil 3D will let you define a curve in 3 different ways. An arc is an arc, and there are tons of ways of defining them. It's been my experience that a legal description often includes all the definitions, so we can just pick the ones we want to use. A tangent arc requires the arc opening angle and the arc radius, and by definition must be tangent to any previous geometry. A chord curve requires a bearing angle of the chord, the length of the chord, and the radius of the arc. A radial curve requires the bearing angle of the chord, the radius of the arc, and the arc opening angle. When you change from one arc type to another, the required field will highlight in yellow, making it easy to figure out what you need to type. While you are inputting values, you can move the dialog out of the way to see what you are currently drawing. This lets you make adjustments when needed. This legal description says that my arc should curve to the left when it's currently curving to the right. I can fix this by making the radius negative. I'm going to fast forward through me entering the rest of the values for this parcel. Notice that I'm in the habit of clicking Save every few entries. This will be important later. In the last section, I mentioned hitting Save every now and again, and I really need to emphasize this. When you save your traverse, you can actually go back and open it and edit it again. If you don't, then you'll lose everything you typed. So please, hit Save frequently. Especially when you think you're done, like we are here. At this point, Civil 3D has the instructions to make your lot, but hasn't actually drawn it yet, despite what the preview makes you think. We can check how good our traverse is before we draw it by generating a traverse closure report. As you can see, we have an error in closure of, wow, that's not good. This lets me know I probably mistyped something. What can I say? I'm a human and we tend to make mistakes. But I'm going to pretend that everything is fine for now. The next step is to choose Create Polyline from Traverse. This will draw a polyline that matches the definition we laboriously created. Hooray! We can click Close and go take a look. Just like our closure report suggested, this is not very good. These two endpoints should be a lot closer together. This is a lot like when you use the transparent toolbar. If you mistype something or simply skip a step, then you get something bad. But unlike that method, we can much more easily fix it. Let's do that. I'm going to erase the polyline first. I'll get Civil 3D to make a new one in a second, so I don't need this bad one. Next, I'll start the CogoEditor command again. Step 1 is to open up the traverse file we had saved earlier. Ignore this warning, and we will get our settings back. Now we just need to check what we typed. I can see I mistyped this bearing. That's good to know. I can also see I totally skipped this entry. Bad me. To add a new row, you can right-click on the sidebar and choose Insert Row. You can use these arrows to move rows up and down in the list, so don't worry if it puts your new row in the wrong place. Let's see if I got it right. Moving my dialog to the side, the preview looks okay. I'm going to hit save real quick and then do a closure report. That's looking much better. So I'm ready to click Create Polyline from Traverse again. This is looking perfect. We can turn this polyline into a parcel using the tools we discussed in my parcel video. Check it out if you don't know how that process works. Or we can automate placing labels by following the steps in this other video, which you can also check out. This command doesn't change the fact that inputting legal descriptions is a bit of a pain in the butt. It's data entry, and that's definitely my least favorite part of the job. But using the CogoEditor does make it significantly easier to find errors, fix errors, and also keeps you from needing to translate your data into a different format. I think you'll like it. I was talking to a civil engineer friend the other day about the subject of this video, and she revealed to me that she draws lot lines like this. Draw south, rotate 14 degrees, 32 minutes, 12 seconds to the west. I threw open my mouth a little bit when I heard that. At the very least, you can type in surveyor's angles directly into the angle field when drawing a line. Just use the letter D for degrees. I think using this method for curves sucks, but it can still be done. That said, I'm a huge fan of using CogoEditor for this task, as it helps me deal with the fact that I'm often an idiot who types poorly. Anywho, if this helped you out, leaving a like would be very kind of you. I try to release a new video every 2 weeks. You can hit subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. Click the bell icon for a nice callback to the Skypea arc. You can leave a comment if you have questions or ideas for new videos. You can support us on Patreon and get access to new videos before they're released on YouTube. And finally, if you're interested in our Civil 3D, AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor, Fusion 360, 3ds Max, SketchUp, or MicroStation classes, check us out at AtkinsTechConsulting.com. As always, I'm David, and happy catting.